One. All right, guys, welcome to the Jordan Garber Now podcast. Here, you're listening to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. We are here with no stranger to the Winnipeg wrestling scene, as well as all across North America and overseas. None other than Franco Varga. Franco, welcome to the Jordan Garber Now podcast.
What's going on, Jordan? Thanks for having me.
Well, it is great to have you on, and you definitely had a storied career your entire time. You know, you've hit the UK, you've hit Japan, you've hit Puerto Rico, among many other places. And that actually all began for you when it all started in New Era Pro Wrestling. Now, when you're done training and everything that you learned is set to stone and you practice those moves in the ring, were the first few matches an adjustment for you, or were you really starting to take advantage of learning the basics of chemistry?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I didn't feel like I was catching on as quick, but my coaches and trainers told me that I was a natural and things like that, and they had been trained by like guys of less stature and people like that before. So, they're those guys in New Era and the whole scene in Colorado. They're actually they don't get the credit that they deserve, But I think there has been huge stars, mega stars out of Colorado for a while since like Bobby Lashley. So I think that's quite kind of why scenes kind of fall off like that. But I in the beginning I felt like, man, I must be terrible, and I can't even watch those matches back anymore because of how much I've grown in my career. But in the beginning, yeah, it was a struggle. I wasn't a wrestling guy. I was actually invited to a tryout, and kind of was told, hey, you can do this. You got the body for it. You're naturally a big guy, and it doesn't hurt as much as you think it does. That was kind of a lie, but but no, I wasn't a wrestling guy. I basically picked up in the Attitude Era, watched a little bit of that. When everybody left, I stopped watching. So I wasn't like a hardcore wrestling guy. So I wasn't ever, I wasn't naturally picking up on things in the beginning. But I'm actually really grateful for that because it made me want to work harder. I was driving 2.5 hours each way to get trained because that's how bad I wanted it, especially when I knew I wasn't coming from that background.
Who are those first few wrestlers like in your career that kind of gave you that extra umph, that extra push to get you to where you are today? Like, who are those guys that were always trying to help you out day after day?
Yeah, in the absolute beginning, Tony Morales, he was really really great for my career. He was another North Colorado guy that should have been a lot bigger in the business, but he did some stuff with Ring of Honor a little bit. So he got his shot, but yeah, he definitely helped me a lot, grow a lot quickly. And then of course, like business wise, a lot of people know like this story. Gerald Briscoe helped me a lot, career wise and business wise, and he actually was that first bump to actually getting out of Colorado and actually going to Puerto Rico and setting those things, opening those doors for me. And I just wrestled in front of him one time, and he was just like, kid. And what was crazy is everyone's goal was to be in WWE, except I was. I'm always been very honest, and I was just like, I don't think that's where I want to be. And he kind of told me this like years later. He's like, that's what made you stand out to me, is if I can help you, even if not be in WWE, but if I can help you achieve your goals, then that's what everyone should help. It should be a big family kind of thing. So yeah, he helped me. I wanted to be the journeyman, the traveler, the guy known all around the world by a few, small niche of people, instead of the guy who wrestles on TV and known by a lot of people, but only wrestles that one place. So that's kind of what I've always wanted to do. So he helped me tremendously in the beginning.
A lot of your roots, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's a bit of a gambling question due to our research in the past not going one for one in the past, but let's talk about the shows down there in Felton, Delaware at the Auto Exchange with Infinite Pro Wrestling or 302. What was your experience with them? That's a really great way to, that's your hometown roots, good venue, good people, you're comfortable working in front of your home crowd. So is that good to get on the list as well for your career, working for them?
So this is actually my wife's hometown. So I actually grew up in New York City, and there's almost no place cheaper than Delaware. I don't know if you look it up, it's like literally the cheapest place. And if you ever met me, which you have, I'm like one of the cheapest guys you're ever gonna meet. I can have $1 million in the bank, and I just won't buy the Ferrari. I'm gonna go buy the little Hyundai or something, you know. But Delaware, the crowd is awesome. Man, I don't want to sound too full of myself, but they freaking love me here. I get stopped at like gas stations and stuff, so it's really cool little town feel. But yeah, I also live here, so so which is why I don't do too many shows here, because the year that I was a bad guy here was tough, because they still believe, they still believe. They also know that I do a lot of stuff for charity and make a wish and things like that. So they know I'm a good guy at heart, but they're like, oh, you screwed over my favorite wrestler the other night. So they still believe, just like Puerto Rico, they still believe it's really hot crowds and stuff. So Delaware is one of those like niche little places where they still believe in that old school style of wrestling. So yeah, this is kind of where I'm at now, and for the near future, and we'll see where. I know there's been some rumors that I'm moving and all this stuff, so I don't really want to confirm or deny anything, but yeah, this is where I'm right now. So yeah, I love this. I love
And I heard
and
like
then
a lot of.
my experience. Go ahead. My
Oh,
experience was with the companies themselves. I know, like with the Real 2, I've always been pretty vocal about, some of them. They were really long, but there were some great feuds for me, like Big John Stud's kid, Big Sean Stud. I don't know if you ever seen him.
yeah.
That was like a big feud for them, and then that company eventually turned into Impact Pro Wrestling, which has done a lot for my career and the careers of a lot of guys. So it's one of the top places to be on the East Coast, and it just started right here in Delaware. They're already in what is it, 8 states now. So it was awesome to see them grow from just just um, just starting here in Little Delaware to now being across 8 different states.
Now, I interviewed a lot of guys that came across to Puerto Rico, and a lot of these guys hear
Mhm.
tell me stories where the fans actually are so into it that they'll piss into a cup and they'll throw it at
Mhm.
you. Did you ever encounter
Yeah.
that yourself as a heel?
Thank God. No, I was a lot more attractive when I was there, so I was a baby face.
Well, that's good.
And yeah, thank God. But no, I've seen the craziest thing I've seen was a 9-volt battery thrown at a heel, and that was the day I was like, I'm so happy I'm a baby. But there's also, the big deal about baby faces over there is it's you're going to be expected to bleed a lot, and I still have this mark on my forehead. If you ever looked at my like pictures and promo pictures and stuff, there's like a permanent mark on my forehead from the gashes. So, and if I know people say like, oh man, Abdullah the Butcher's got these huge gashes in his forehead. Well, he wrestled in Puerto Rico for 30 years. So of course, over time they're gonna they just don't go away. So that's the big difference is, yeah, they hate the heels, they love the baby faces, but you have to do different things. You have to put up with that kind of stuff, and you have to park far away from the building, and you can't go out. Um, and working for Carlos is pretty old school. If you're a heel and you're embarrassed in public any kind of way, you get sent home. It doesn't matter. You get sent home. So especially if you lose a fight, if you get in a fight and you lose, you get sent home immediately. Don't ever expect to come back, just because that legitimacy is gone. Um, and then on the other hand, as a babyface, don't expect to sleep much because you're gonna have a lot of these fan interaction kind of things. So you gotta take pictures at the gym or go sign here or do this or do that. So it's so it's a lot of work, but it's also some of the best. I mean, I always tell guys you should go to Puerto Rico. I mean, it's not the greatest pay on the planet, which you always hear from guys, but it's some of the best experience I've ever had.
I feel like Puerto Rico is like that next check stop that people take on their list to get to places like England or Japan. I feel like
Hmm.
if you want to have those strong components of British style and lucha style, you got to start things out in Puerto Rico. And to
Yeah.
work for Carlos, man, that must have been crazy. How many people were you working in front of at the time? In front of there? How were the crowds?
The biggest one was like 3,500, and that
Oh,
was
wow.
like their SummerSlam. Their WrestleMania is like it's like double that. They do this big baseball stadium in Bayamon, Puerto Rico, and it's like 7,000 people. So yeah, man, it's huge.
It's
I
crazy.
didn't
If
even
that
get to. I was actually gone. I was actually back home by that point, but I did their second biggest show was just 3,500. 500 people. Plus, they have local TV and a whole bunch of other stuff. So even if they didn't come to the show, they watch on TV. It's like it's a big deal.
Absolutely. It's always good to be a part of something that's a big deal, and a big deal here in Winnipeg is none other than Canadian Wrestling Elite. We just finished our CWE preview with Danny Duggan, who's a co-host on the program. You'll hear from him every single month previewing the next big show. And I remember back when I worked with Chair Shot Radio that we did an interview with you on the tour with Ron Simmons. And man,
Mm.
you brought Ron Simmons on the show, counting
Mm-hmm.
as a chance to be a part of a segment with Ron Simmons, which is awesome. But you did that whole tour. That was a really tough road for you. You're adjusting in
Mm-hmm.
the United States and Delaware. You're going to Puerto Rico. And now you're going to Canada. How much of a
Yeah,
culture shock was that?
it was huge, man. It was huge, and I was, again, being originally from New York City, I was like, why is everyone so damn nice? It was actually pretty creepy to me. Um, but no, I love the Canadian fans. I still talk to a bunch of them, and they always, bug me like, come back to Canada, and like I just think fit wise, I've always said yes to a lot of things, and then I've gotten a chance to like, oh, that tour is 30 some days. I'd have to cancel on things, and I just don't like to cancel. So like, I'm gonna try to get back on one of these tours, a full tour. I don't want to do a portion of the tour or a leg of the tour. I just want to do a full tour. So when the timing is right, yeah, I'll definitely be back.
Well, you didn't do the full tour, but you did have, I believe, 23 matches in 2018, working places like Gimli, Gladstone, Brandon, Dauphin, Yorkton, Melfort, Prince Albert, Saskatoon. I'm not going to go through every single one of them, but you also hit Alberta, BC. What are some places that stood out to you the most on the tour? What are some of your top cities that you got to perform in that you'll always remember?
Yeah, yeah. So, not to correct you too bad there, but I actually did that tour start to finish. It was Ron. Ron Simmons had to go home early, so I don't know.
That was
If,
9 damn
yeah,
years.
yeah. That 9 damn years tour. But I was there start to finish. So my favorite was Calgary, of course, Winnipeg, Thunder Bay was also really cool for me. Um, I liked Sault Ste. Marie, even though I was calling it Sault Ste. Mary, and really the crowd really hated me that night.
Hmm.
But I that was another cool town. Yeah, there was a lot of really cool little towns, and of course, gosh, what's yeah, Thunder Bay. Gosh, there's one more that I know Dwayne and Kim Soper. Man, I can't remember the town, but it's right. It's the stop right after Calgary. So,
Oh, okay. I
um,
think I might have that on my files here. You went to
yeah, but
Calgary,
yeah,
and then it was Medicine Hat, I think.
Medicine Hat. Yes, Medicine Hat. Love the Medicine Hat. Love the crowd in Medicine Hat. Still talk to a lot of the people in Medicine Hat. And of course, the Soper family, they're like big sponsors for that show and that stuff. It's a huge customer. So, yeah, I still keep in touch with them.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. The CWE pulls out a great tour each and every time. And
Yeah.
with coronavirus and pro wrestling right now, how do you think that's kind of affecting the future of not the mainstream product, but the independent product? Is it going to thrive thrive or not survive in terms of like media? Is this going to increase the media outlet for the independent product? Is the coronavirus going to give that a chance?
Well, so my thoughts on coronavirus and independent wrestling was I personally shut myself down when it came to it because I wanted it to I didn't want to put it in a fan's mind where, man, I really want to go see Franco Varga, but I really want to stay home because I don't feel safe going out. And I socially, like the social responsibility that wrestlers have and they don't really realize is that we kind of have to like be the responsible ones and say, look, guys, don't worry about coming out. Don't even worry about wrestling. Be safe. Be with your families. So yeah, I said I'm done for the year, guys. I called and messaged every promoter that I worked for. I said I'm so sorry if you were planning things, but I'm taking myself off the shelf. Other than working for Ricky Morton's School of Morton in Tennessee, which is a nationally broadcasted program, which they had like 100,000 followers last night. And Ricky Morton's a Hall of Famer. I love Ricky Morton, so he's always been good to me. So that was the one place that I kind of didn't really shut down, but they're doing everything super safe, and that's kind of why I'm there. So, but yeah, I think if everyone did that in pro wrestling, I know there's a lot of people, especially like the higher ups in pro wrestling, really bashing on independent wrestling because we're wrestling in backyards essentially again. And I feel the same way. I think if I don't want to I don't want to make pro wrestling, especially independent pro wrestling, look like something lesser than WWE. I think it should always be not on par, not especially not on par budget wise, but it should be on par with the work, and it shouldn't be an eyesore, you know. So if it looks like it's in someone's backyard and it's not going to be taken seriously, you can be the best worker, the best wrestler, the best sports entertainer in the business, but if you're wrestling in a backyard, about 95% of the casual fans are not going to take you seriously off the bat. So
What
that's
about
kind
a
of why.
Walmart? Like, what about inside a Walmart? Is that okay?
I, no,
I'm
no,
just
absolutely
bugging.
not. No, same thing. Yeah, I mean, I understand that we love this, and I understand that this is what a lot of guys want to do, but I also understand that a lot of guys got desperate to just put on a show just for the sake of putting on a show, and that's kind of what hurts professional wrestling, and that's why back in the territory days, back in like the early '80s, late '70s, that's why Vince McMahon went around and bought up all these promotions because he got tired of seeing them do things out of desperation. So he bought them all up so he can control it and not have things, you know, hurt the actual reputation for wrestling. So I know he gets a bad rap, but he's also, I mean, he's been putting on these caliber shows for what 30 plus years. You can't be a dummy and accomplish that. So
Talk about Japan now. You know, a lot of people make it their dream in their career to even hit Japan. What was it like
yeah.
not to just hit there but perform there?
So yeah, in true Franco fashion, it just fell in my lap, and I had wrestled Tuco Scorpio a few times, and he's huge over there, and he just made some phone calls for me and said, look at this kid, he's gonna send you some stuff, and I was just like, please, like, okay, I'll do it, you know, because out of respect for you, but I doubt it's gonna work out, you know. Things in pro wrestling fall through all the time. And next thing I know, they're like, okay, these are the dates. This is when it would be. This is, you know, you fill this out for your visa. And I was just like, what? This is happening? And yeah, next thing I knew, I was just like, oh my God, I'm on a flight, and it was like really cool. I think everyone should be able to do it. And it's not as hard. I know. I'm gonna say it, and a lot of people roll their eyes. It's not as hard as you think. You're always looking. That first recommendation is what you need. So get in front of somebody who's been there, and get in front of someone who can really put, you know, your work, their name on your work, and that's all really what it is. It's not the toughest thing in the world. And of course, to be invited back, you have for a tougher crowd than a lot of people. We see go off the wall 100%.
Sir, you are cutting out there a little bit, but while you adjust your microphone, let's talk about let's talk about Ohio Valley Wrestling. You know, you had one match there that was taped for India that got a really, really good reach against Shira. So can you kind of elaborate on that before we discuss the UK?
Yeah, so Ohio Valley Wrestling is like one of the, you know, one of the, like you said, a lot of places that wrestling should check mark and want to be. So that was always a goal of mine for my entire career. Working for OVW, working for Al Snow. He's also one of the great minds of pro wrestling. So when I got the call and they said, hey, I was actually sending videos to Greg Khali to go work in India for him, and that's one of the things that coronavirus actually stopped me from doing this year, but you know, it is what it is, right? So we filmed that to be aired over there, and it was just one of those things that, like, boom, it exploded. Like, next thing I knew, I had like 5,000 followers from this one match, damn near overnight. So they're huge on their pro wrestling over there. I know for a fact I'll be over there hopefully next year. But yeah, it was OVW's like done a lot for my career, and for a lot of guys too.
And
Great place to work.
oh no, absolutely. A lot of names have come out of Ohio Valley Wrestling, and obviously some of the best in the world. Let's talk about
I mean, John Cena, Batista, Lesnar,
Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
You
Franco
can't ask
Varga.
for a better proving ground.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, that's a proving ground. Absolutely.
PCW UK. So we're talking about culture shock. I think that's pretty much the whole basis of our interview throughout your travels. You go to Puerto
Yeah.
Rico, you deal with
Mm.
fans throwing 9 volts. You go to Canada, you have a bunch of Tim Hortons. You go to Japan, you're wrestling some of the best, and now you're going all the
Yeah.
way to UK to wrestle some of the
Yeah.
best and the best in a whole new style. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
What was that
Absolutely.
about?
So I actually got picked as part of the Road to Glory. It's kind of like this world televised world tournament, right? So guys from all over, and they go to PCW, and I think the sponsor was like Get Back Wrestling and a whole bunch of stuff. So it's a really good shot for me, and yeah, it was insanely different. I I had some great matches, and I love the fact that I didn't try to blend with their style. I actually my whole thing was do what you guys do. I'm not going to try to emulate or do what you guys do. I'm going to try to counter that with the styles that I bring to the table. And it was super entertaining. The fans actually that's another place that I keep in touch with a lot of people just because you don't, a lot of people go over there and try to fit in. And I'm strongly against that. I'm brought in for a reason. That's because I stand out differently. So I'm not going to change who I am no matter where I go. And I think that's worked out for me, career wise, especially like Australia, they have a pretty weird, different style too. But the UK is a lot of chain wrestling, a lot of ground wrestling, and I don't.
What's their style like compared to the UK style? Is it sort of like a similar thing, or is it a little different?
No, so you mean in Australia?
Yeah.
So in Australia, they have a lot of because they're still part of the Union Jack in the UK, so they have a lot of the UK wrestlers come out. So they have some mat wrestling, but again, they also have Japan right above them, so they have a lot of that Japanese high flying and striking. So
Yeah.
whenever a guy like me comes and does like the big power moves and the big, the really like the over the top big stuff, they were just like, wow, like that's like WWE stuff. I'm like, no, that's just a different style,
Huh.
So they're not used to like people getting thrown over, like I flip people over my head and catch them midair and then put them down. So like they don't. That's like the overly powerful stuff. They don't get to see that. I'm also 300 pounds, which is like people, they don't really see that as much either. So like I think like a guy like Big E would make a killing living over there because he's like Godzilla, to them. so yeah, it's a huge like clashing styles is what the fans want to see on the independent level, and guys like Jeff Cobb I've seen do well, and just right in front of me, Mike Ogan. Of course, you got your, like MJF, like I said, in the UK, I was with MJF on that same thing. And just how the promos, doesn't matter where you are. If you're good at promos, it's going to translate. You're always going to kill it. You're always going to be that guy. So yeah, the UK and Australia were some of my favorites to definitely wrestle in front of.
From working with MJF, would you say from the get-go he was always a good promo guy, or did that take a lot of development, or was he a
Oh,
natural?
absolutely. No, he was from the first time I met him at CZW in New Jersey, he was always great. It's like he's a walking, talking promo all the time. That's just who he is. He's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what's also awesome is all the names you kind of like came across in your career. Looking back, it's definitely something you can share it with a smile. There's one thing we do on the Jordan Garber Now podcast, and that's the top three workers you've had the best in-ring chemistry with of all time, and go.
All time. Wow. Okay. Wow, that's something really on the spot there. I think number three. Oh, you know what? Not in any order because chemistry is like a thing. But Carlito, we worked a few times. We're both Puerto Rican. He's like from a huge prestigious family. I'm the whole, the traveler bit. So that was a really interesting match for the fans, and they still, play it over there. So definitely, that's one of the guys. Tony Atlas, I guess you can ask my wife. He's like my dad. We speak like once a week or something. But he's taught me a lot, just in the ring, slowing down, making things count, really like tapping into the fan. Like it's just he should be. I mean, if it wasn't for the schedule, he would be with WWE still coaching guys. But and then I'd say me and Brian Cage have had some really good matches, and we're both really really big dudes, and we both not super similar styles, but we blend very very well together. So I'd say yeah, top three with a close fourth one would have been maybe Michael Elgin, close fourth.
Awesome. Michael Elgin was also on the Jordan Garber Now podcast if you want to go way back into the day. So it's awesome having
Nice,
you on, Franco. And, I remember doing an interview with you 3 years ago. Great guy. Saw you in the locker room. You've always been an awesome performer. And if I'm a fan and I'm buying a ticket, I look forward to seeing you. So I appreciate you
awesome.
taking the time to share your career perspectives and sharing it with the world because it really does mean the
Yeah,
world to
thank
us.
you so much.
Any,
Yeah, make sure. Go ahead. Make
yeah,
sure you tell my boy AJ Sanchez that I said hello, and I'm coming for him next time I see him in Canada. That's another one of those really good matchups that I get asked for to redo all the time.
there's
So
actually a
yeah,
small little feud with, a very small feud with me and AJ Sanchez and CWE here that just kind of ended going through the past. There is this whole online thing, and a lot of my listeners here, before we wrap things up, a lot of my listeners know that I'm pretty controversial, and sometimes I don't really think before I hit the keyboard or hit enter.
obviously, yeah,
So what happened with AJ is one thing led to another, and we got into a big fight. And then what happened is he was on the CWE live streams, and Danny Duggan kept saying, if AJ wins, he'll be in the Jordan Garber Now trading card set. And he's like, F you, Jordan Garber, I hate you. And then like we'd be doing this back and forth for 2 months out, but eventually I got to speak to the Boston Bruiser Kevin O'Doyle and AJ Sanchez, and all ends are forgiven. Everything's good, and another famous alumni of our show to have on. So I will definitely tell him that you said hi, but I won't
yeah,
be stirring any drama this time.
yeah. Please stop. Those guys are a lot bigger than
Yeah,
you.
oh, they're way big. I lost weight, guys. I lost 15 pounds. So it's funny
Nice.
when people talk about wrestlers and wrestling journalists. You at least you want to be over 140 pounds, and when you're losing weight even at that size, kind of
Yeah,
shows
geez.
something. Got to get back on
I
the
haven't been
drawing
a hun-
board.
I haven't been 140 pounds since eighth grade. So
Eighth grade. Well, it looks like I got a lot of work to do. I have a lot of those Whopper
yeah.
Wednesdays to take advantage of.
Right.
All right, man, Franco. I really appreciate the time. Is there anything else you want to say to our fans listening from around the world?
No, man. Thanks wherever you're listening from, wherever you've seen me wrestle live or online. Thank you throughout the years. You guys are awesome, and WWE is not the only thing. And I'm glad that I and myself and a lot of guys have been able to prove that throughout the years. I ain't going anywhere, and when it becomes safe, I will be back. And like a lot of people, we'll be back, and we'll be back all over the world entertaining you guys. And then just follow me on the socials, right? Cheap plug, everything, any social media at Franco Wrestles. And that's it. I keep it simple.
Awesome, man. You keep it simple. I keep it real. It's great to have you on the
There you
show,
go.
and I appreciate your time.
All right, brother. You take it easy.